It is a real honour to address you as the Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Home Affairs, Women and Equalities. And over the years, our party has played a pivotal role in fighting for the equality that everyone deserves. Whether it is the majestic Lynn Featherstone's tireless efforts in getting the Same-Sex Marriage Act passed, or my friend Josh Babarindi's recent campaigning victory that secured a change in the law to see domestic abusers properly identified at sentencing, we have an incredible track record of delivering real change. Because fighting for equality is fundamental to who we are as Liberals. Conference, we know that you can't build a free society until everyone is free. Free from prejudice, free from barriers, and from fear. And that's why we have long campaigned to end the disproportionate use of stop and search. That's why we have fought tooth and nail against the government's planned cuts to support for disabled people and their carers. And that's why, when our trans community continues to be under attack, we continue to defend their rights. Because everyone has the right to feel safe, to feel respected, and free to be who they are without exception. We've had years of divisive culture wars, and they've left far too many in our communities at the margins. And that includes those who came to the UK seeking sanctuary. They might be fleeing war, persecution, or unimaginable trauma, who now face new levels of violence and intimidation. This is all while they're trying to navigate an increasingly broken system, often trapped in a cruel Home Office limbo, banned from working or from renting a home. They're living in wholly unsuitable accommodation. They're unable to move on with their lives for weeks, for months, and in some cases, even years. Conference, this is a humanitarian crisis that has been deliberately created at the hands of the former Conservative government. And now we're hearing too many Labour politicians, rather than standing up for those most vulnerable, they're just copying the Tories in becoming a pretty mediocre Farage Tribute Act. They're parroting reform's rhetoric, and they are failing to get a grip of this crisis. But Conference, we are not willing to stand by and let this continue. That's why we're calling on the government to declare the asylum backlog as a national emergency and set up Nightingale processing centres, just like the Nightingale hospitals in the pandemic. We need them to clear the asylum backlog within 6 months. Families shouldn't be held in limbo for months or years, stopped with getting on with their lives, from getting settled, finding a home, finding a steady job and playing a full role in their community. Allowing people to get on with their lives and contribute to their community is what is right, it's what is humane, and that's what we stand for as Liberal Democrats. Now, across the country, too many people feel unsafe in their communities. They're let down by a system that doesn't listen and by politicians who make promise after promise but then never deliver. And let me tell you, I get it, right? I understand why they feel that way. The Conservatives left our police service totally unable to meet the needs of the communities they serve after years of ineffective resourcing and mismanagement. They slashed the number of officers on the streets. They allowed antisocial behaviour to spiral, rural crime to rise, and serious crimes like burglary, violence against women and girls to go uninvestigated. And now, these same Conservatives have the bare-faced audacity to talk tough when they were soft on crime and soft on the causes of crime for a decade. And Labour, well, They're pointing at the right issues, but they've got no serious plan to get officers back on our streets and no vision for restoring the trust we need. There is just a blank, underwhelming space where leadership should be. In my own constituency, the finest in the land, Hazel Grove, front row disagrees, I've seen the repercussions of this only too clearly. When police forces are overstretched and under-resourced. We never see a police presence, a constituency told me, after his son and a friend were the victims of a brutal knife attack that left the latter in need of plastic surgery. The police didn't check the CCTV for over a week because the detectives were on holiday. Now that is not justice, conference, that is neglect. And it's not because the police don't care. Believe me, they really do. The police do some of the hardest jobs in our society. One shift might mean responding to a suicide, another to a child missing from home, and the next to a violent assault or a domestic abuse case. And the emotional toll of this is enormous. Yet too often they get no mental health support and are told to do more with less. This cannot continue. Because if we don't look after those who protect us, how can we expect them to protect others? And let's talk about justice for a minute. Because it should never depend on who you are or where you live. But violence against women and girls is too often ignored. Black and ethnic minority communities are subjected to disproportionate stop and search. Disabled victims of crime are routinely overlooked. Rural communities suffer from a disheartening lack of specialised policing, and that's leaving crimes like hair coursing, stolen farm equipment, and fly tipping going unpunished. That's not justice, conference. That's inequality. And in a liberal society, everyone should feel safe in their communities. Now, those of you who know me well will know that community politics is at the core of my liberalism, and it is my firm belief that community politics is our best weapon to beat the rise of far-right populism. Because what better to fight fear than hope? What better to fight anger than kindness? And what better to fight division than community? Our world hasn't changed overnight. Most people, I firmly believe, are still inherently kind and good. But they're fed up. And I get it, right? Conservative governments, consecutive governments, have let them down time after time after time. So conference, Lib Dems, what's our job? Well, it's the same as it's always been, right? Roll up those sleeves, get stuck in. To stand with our communities, to listen to their hopes and fears, and to act. Because action is key. The people in our communities, they don't expect miracles. They don't expect greatness. But they expect honest, hard work. And that's part of the contract we have with those who we choose to serve. Liberal Democrats across the country already live this reality. We do help. We do get stuck in. That's why we beat Reform. We beat Reform UK in 80% of the head-to-head fights with them in the local elections this year. And that's because of your hard work. But it's also because of community politics. We are the only party that can stand up and beat Reform. The mighty, mighty Lib Dems in Durham, thank you, they are the only team in the only party to take a seat off Reform in a by-election earlier this year. And they have shown us the way. Now, others have held off Reform, of course, important to say. Now, community politics isn't a new idea. The best Lib Dems have been practicing it for decades. It isn't new, but it remains a radical approach to empowering communities. And nowhere is the role of the community more applicable than when it comes to policing, right? Trust has to be rebuilt, policing reorganised, and our police properly trained and supported. Now, to do this, we've got to put power back where it belongs, in the hands of people. And that's what community politics is all about, and it's at the very heart of our approach to policing. Now, we know that when the police are rooted in the neighbourhoods they serve, when they're working with local people instead of disappearing behind closed doors, trust grows and crime falls. And today we're taking that even further by calling for a police counter in every community. This police desk promise would guarantee a physical, accessible space where people can speak to officers face to face, whether it's in a supermarket or a post office or a local community hub. Conference, thanks to the Conservatives' decimation of proper community policing, we've seen a drastic and horrifying decline in police front counters. People have nowhere to turn, and too many crimes go unreported or unsolved, and this cannot be allowed to continue. By bringing police back into the heart of our communities, making them visible, making them accessible, this is how we rebuild trust and help people feel safe again. And as I was asked on a rather blustery seafront by various representatives of the nation's media first thing this morning, how will we fund it? Well, we'll fund it by scrapping police and crime commissioners. It is a wasteful and ineffective role that has added bureaucracy after bureaucracy without improving outcomes. Police back on our streets, that's what real public service looks like. And that's why I'm also delighted, Conference, to see my friend Baroness Dee Ducey's hard work on policing pass into policy earlier this morning. And what a phenomenal debate we had. Agree. I want to personally thank Dee for her phenomenal efforts. Dee pulled a real shift, actually. She interviewed all 43 serving constables and commissioners in England and Wales. That went into the motion. It is the largest piece of work our party has ever done on policing, and it reaffirms our commitment as a party to delivering safe, crime-free communities across the UK. Conservatives did nothing but break the public trust in policing, and Labour, they're too timid to fix it. Conference, when it comes to policing, I am proud that the Liberal Democrats have the answers. We believe in police forces that work with communities, not apart from them. We believe in justice that works for everyone, not just a few. And we believe in power placed firmly where it belongs, in the hands of the people. Thank you.